1996, we sold Oregon Tilth certified organic catnip in all of our toys, and that practice and that model of sustainability has continued onward. And so we tried to, again, early on, figure out where we could align our brand and eco-friendly initiatives, and it's really essentially becoming one for us over all these years. One of the things that's certainly interesting is when we look at the statistics from Forbes magazine, the value of discarded packaging in the United States in 2010 was $11.4 billion. There's just a tremendous amount of resource put into this, both in terms of dollars as well as in terms of just the waste that there is there. And so when we think, gosh, is there a way to do a lot less packaging? You know, that's one of the things that I think helps us move to a more sustainable future with packaging. So if you go to the next slide, Caitlin, one of the things that we've tried to look at is what do our customers want? And what we learned is that over and over they want less packaging, they want less waste, and so we've done research with our consumers, and they really have this expectation that a brand be eco-conscious. And I think they have a higher level brand of companies like ours that has a long history of being environmentally friendly. But this is certainly a growing trend, and I think it's wonderful. So it's certainly important, and one of our retailers has just put it so bluntly as to say green is no longer the expectation or the exception. It's kind of expected, and I think that's so very true. And so what we've tried to do with some of our packaging is bring it into alignment with our product, and really do something that is not is durable, it's eye-catching, and we're trying to do it in a way that minimizes the impact. So if we can have all of those things work well, we know we've created a really good product. And so when we look at our recycled content, and also the items that are recyclable on our packaging, all items that we have a minimum of 30% recycled content, and a lot of our packaging throughout the company that we use, and also our paper solutions, are 100% post-consumer recycled paper stock, and that's getting easier today. So I just encourage people to look at their local suppliers and make sure that they're using recycled post-consumer stock whenever they can. The next slide. One of the things that we really have worked on is try to minimize the packaging so that the product can really stand on its own. And if you can really think about making the product design so compelling that you don't really need tons of packaging, I think that's a really helpful thing. And I think there's 3 points here, and I think in our conversion to Microsoft we lost one of them, but we can read through them. We start with a simple design, and we look at fully recycled raw input as far as our packaging. So on this product, for example, the header card is 100% post-consumer paperboard. The plastic sleeves is 100% post-consumer recycled plastic, and that those are both recyclable. Obviously, the plastic sleeve is very hard to tell people where they can recycle that, and that's an opportunity for us to do an even better job of making sure they're well informed as how they can recycle those things. On the next slide, one of the things that I mentioned early on, one of the topics that we're looking for is how do you, as a company, reduce your financial and environmental wastes? And over the years, we've had the opportunity to make substantial improvements in packaging reduction. When we reduce the plastic content, we save material costs. When we use post-industrial plastic in our new version, you can see this is sort of the version 1 of a product from back in 2005, and then the current product on the right-hand side. When you have lower packaging costs and increased recycling, it's a better alignment with the brand. And I think anybody would rather sell the product on the right. It's better for the retailer, it's better for the consumer, it's certainly better for the environment. The next slide is a very good visual. One of the things that we often hear is when you're buying packaging, when you're buying anything, conventional wisdom would say, order more, pay less. It makes sense on the day of the purchase because you've got this really good low cost on your packaging. But what happens when you do a changeover, whether that changeover was planned or not? The classic story of Westpaw Design is, we had to change over some product packaging. We worked with it for a year trying to figure out how we could minimize it, and at the end of the day, we couldn't. We had 1,000 pounds of packaging headed to recycling. We had $10,000 of wasted profits. And when I look at that, it's the classic scenario of if you buy in smaller order sizes, you have quicker inventory turns, you have less costly changeover. There's a lot less environmental waste, and there's a lot less profit loss on those changeovers. So we look at things both from the financial standpoint and the environmental standpoint. This is another opportunity, to work with your partners and your vendors. We've got a couple nationwide retailers that we sell to who have it as the standard in their business agreements that they will require polybagging on everything that they do. We've challenged our partners on this to help them question whether they really need these things done. And our toys have been exempted from that, in part because of our manufacturing facility. We can demonstrate a very clean, well-functioning facility, but also they want to be more green. So this is a great way to work with partners in the industry and push for them to not make these sort of egregious packaging claims that they have to have polybagging on everything. And then finally, moving on to just trying to keep it local. This is really important because I think if you purchase your packaging as local as possible, you're generally able to have a smaller order size. You're generally able to have a shorter lead time. You're also less costly product changeover, as I mentioned earlier, and you're able to support your local economy. And these are all sustainability objectives in our company, and the team does a great job of trying to find how they can do this. And I think our numbers are really impressive. At Westpaw Design, we accomplished this by having 98% of our packaged products manufactured under one roof, and 100% of the packaging comes from the U.S., and over 50% of it comes from our Rocky Mountain region. So that's what I have to present. I'll turn it back over to you, Caitlin, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Spencer. And it was really great to get a perspective from Westpaw Design, and really look at, okay, what does it look like for a pet company to implement some of these ideas that many of our packaging experts will be sharing with us. So next we will move on to the Sustainable Forestry Initiative, and Jason Metnick will be presenting. He is the Senior Vice President of Customer Affairs for the Sustainable Forestry Initiative program. It's a third-party forest certification system in North America. Jason holds a Bachelor of Science in Forestry from Northern Arizona University and is a member of the Society of American Foresters. He also sits on a number of committees related to certification, labeling, and claims, including the Program for Endorsement of Forest Certification's Chain of Custody Committee, is a member of the Sustainability Consortium Pulp, Paper, and Forest Sector, and previously chaired the ASTM Task Force Group in the Chain of Custody. So, Jason, I will go ahead and advance slides for you and mute myself now.
Great. Thanks very much for the opportunity to present today. What I was asked to present today was on how fiber input and fiber sourcing relates to the sustainable packaging design within the pet food industry. And so if you can go ahead and advance to the next slide, what I wanted to do was give a brief overview of what forest certification is, where it's going, and what SFI is specifically. And so forest certification really started in the early to mid 90s, and it started as a voluntary process really to provide assurances to consumers, customers, retailers throughout the supply chain that the products they're buying, whether it be wood, paper, packaging products, that the fiber that goes into those products are coming from well-managed forests. It really started as a response to a lot of concerns in developing countries, especially in those tropical regions. But today, what we've seen is there's more than 50 different forest certification standards worldwide, and operating in countries everywhere from the United States, Canada, to South America and Chile and Brazil, and to Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia and New Zealand. And so it really has become a global effort. The original purpose of it, forest certification, was really to provide those assurances to the markets, and it's really been those markets that have moved certification along throughout the last 2 decades. It's been that market demand by large retailers, whether in the solid wood sector, saying that my wood products need to come from a third-party certification standard, or in the office supply sector looking at those reams of paper, or catalogs, or even retailers are setting goals and criteria by which they're going to source their wood, paper, and packaging products. Green building has definitely been a major market drive, as well as governments. The United Kingdom as well as Japan have set certain policies on the products that enter their countries. Next slide. What we've seen as of late, though, is there has been this many different coalitions that have formed. You heard from Green Blue earlier, the Sustainability Consortium, Consumer Goods Forum, the World Business Council Sustainable Development, and a newly formed Sustainable Purchasing Leadership Council. And what these groups have done is they formed to look at sustainability across a wide range of issues, and forestry and forest certification do fall within a lot of these metrics that they develop and design. An example of the Consumer Goods Forum is they wanted to tackle a leading issue on a global concern, which is deforestation. One of the ways to measure deforestation is through commitments with forest certification programs. So does your company purchase products that may come from a company certified to a standard like SFI? Green Blue has a plethora of great information on their website too that talk about all the various forest certification tools, and the Sustainability Consortium has certain key performance indicators looking at forest certification within their policies as well. Next slide. So what makes up a credible forest certification standard? I've always said it really falls under 4 key aspects. The governance, is it independent? The forest standard, so how rigorous is that standard? Does it address a lot of those environmental attributes such as reforestation, protection of biodiversity, water quality, soil habitat, etc.? Is there a third-party component to it as well? So those companies that conform to the standard, are they third-party audited by accredited certification bodies? And then finally, a chain of custody or labeling program, really to provide that transparency or that proof point that the product that they're selling down the supply chain is indeed third-party certified through these various standards. Next slide. It is an alphabet soup of different acronyms and standards when you look at forest certification. The key thing to understand in all this, and if you go to the next slide, is that only 10% of the world's forests are certified under any of these various standards that operate globally. And so there's been a lot of noise about the different certification standards, who's the A+ standard, who's the A-, who's the gold, who's the silver, but the key thing to remember is only 10% of the world's forests are certified, and so it's important to recognize the value of all these different certification standards out there. Next slide. So looking specifically at SFI, SFI is a North American-based forest certification standard. Our scope is only to certify lands in the U.S. and Canada, and it has been around since the mid to late 90s. We are grounded in science, regional expertise, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit. Next slide. At the heart of the SFI is the standard. This is the document that the participants within our program have to conform to. It's based off of 14 principles, 20 objectives, 115 indicators, and it covers a whole wide range of issues from the environmental side to the social side to the economic side. Next slide. In North America, there's been about just over 240 million acres that have been third-party certified to our standard. And so while we've done a great job of really certifying those lands within the U.S. and Canada, one of the challenges that we always have within SFI is how can we increase the amount of responsibly sourced fiber in the supply chain? And if you go to the next slide. Because SFI was developed in understanding U.S. landscapes and U.S. landowner patterns, and understanding that the majority of the fiber in the U.S. that goes into packaging wood paper products, it doesn't come from large industrial landowners. It comes from these small family forest landowners. And so one of the things that really makes SFI unique is our fiber sourcing objectives. It's those proactive objectives to ensure that not only those manufacturers that are purchasing fiber from certified lands, but what are you doing on the non-certified land fiber basket as well to ensure that fiber is being sourced responsibly, that loggers are being trained, that landowners are being educated about the benefits of sustainable forestry. And so this is one of the unique aspects of SFI. I would say it's probably a unique aspect mostly because of SFI's involvement in our history stemming from being a North American US-based forest certification standard. Go to the next slide. When you hear the term chain of custody when it comes to forest certification, all chain of custody really is, it's an accounting system audit. It's understanding the fiber flow from the forest all the way to that end product. When it gets to the end user, the company that may be utilizing that packaging, as long as that company isn't manufacturing a package or printing a package, then there's no certification needed for them. The certification ends as soon as that package is printed and moves to be filled or utilized. And so really the process for certification, I would say is upstream from probably the people on this phone today, and the cost associated with forest certification for the organizations on the phone today is really just building that market demand and setting those policies. But there is no cost associated unless you are actually manufacturing that product yourself or printing that product yourself. Go to the next slide. One of the things that SFI is partnering with other organizations is trying to find unique ways to grow the amount of certified land, looking specifically at the U.S. South right now. And so we've partnered with 4 different major publishers: Time, Inc., National Geographic, Macmillan, and Pearson. And if you go to the next slide, what our goal is to find unique ways and collaborative alternatives to increase the amount of certified land available for companies to utilize in their different products. And our goal is to grow by 5 million acres by the end of 2014, and an additional 5 million for a total of 10 million acres by the end of 2017. And we are on our way. We've reached about that halfway point by the end of 2014, and there has been a lot of good success. And so it's really from the landowner to the brand owner is what we call it, and really providing that value to that brand owner to show what is needed, what's involved within the forest certification process. If you go to the next slide. And I believe this is my last slide, and it's really just a website, more information you can learn, get the facts about what SFI does represent, who we are, the third-party certification process involved with the SFI program. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to the next presenter. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jason, for giving us that overview of the paper side of transparency and packaging sustainability. Next, we will move on to Jay Edwards, who is the founder and president of Pack2Sustain. Pack2Sustain is a technical services firm that brings nearly 2 decades of CPG, packaging R&D, and sustainability expertise to clients across the packaging industry. Jay is a packaging industry professional with over 19 years of experience in R&D, and will be talking to us today about the PK tool, a packaging analysis tool. Now, Jay, I will turn it over to you and let me know when you want me to advance slides.
Perfect, Caitlin. Thank you very much for the intro and for the opportunity to speak. And I'm just waiting for the screen to change. Great, perfect. And as Caitlin mentioned, I'm going to be discussing PK, which is an acronym which stands for the Packaging Impact Quick Evaluation Tool, and how that tool can inform and enable more sustainable packaging decisions. Next slide. So as we know, the Pet Industry Sustainability Coalition seeks to use collaboration and world-class tools and resources to drive to better business decisions. And some of the best business decisions are the ones which deliver improved social, economic, and environmental performance. Next slide. PK is licensed through the Sustainable Packaging Alliance and provides a means to capture key environmental metrics that are relevant to packaging systems around the world. The tool was created and is consistently improved in a collaborative context, and that collaboration involves SBA internal expertise along with industry developments and input from licensees. And I see here we have a slide, or the slide, that speaks to PK's global application, and this just gives an example of the tool's global reach. Next slide. So here we have a depiction of how PK informs the packaging assessment process. And the gist here is that to the traditional metrics of a given packaging system's market or consumer performance, its functionality, its cost, PK articulates and adds its environmental performance. Next slide. Now, in terms of overall structure, PK is a web-accessed, streamlined LCA tool. And again, it's designed specifically for packaging and to deliver rapid environmental assessments. And these assessments can typically be completed in about half an hour. The outputs from the tool can be used to compare the relative performance of different scenarios or variables that are used to deliver a packaged good. Next slide. Now, the tool has been designed to model and assess packaging systems at a number of what are called levels. And to kind of clarify the jargon, primary packaging is any packaging component in contact with the product. And in PK, those components are captured in the sub-retail or retail level. Secondary packaging is captured at the merchandising level, and tertiary packaging is captured at the traded level. Next slide. Now, more broadly, PK evaluates the environmental performance of packaging systems based on flows of materials and energy coming into the packaging life cycle and flows of emissions and waste that go out of the process. Next slide. And more specifically, PK assesses the impacts of the following packaging design elements. It deals with the material extraction of the raw materials used to make the packaging, the conversion from packaging materials to actual components, transportation of those empty components to a filling facility, the filling of the packaging itself, transportation of packed product to retailers, and lastly, the disposal step. And we can actually model both landfill or a range of recovery options. What is not covered in the tool are the retail and consumer use phases, along with transportation by the consumer. Next slide. Now, PK's life cycle impact assessment indicators are internationally accepted and are actually derived from the CIMA Pro LCA program. Now, to these indicators are also added packaging-specific sustainability metrics, and they've been included to complement the LCA indicators and also to provide a broader range of metrics. These packaging metrics have been developed over time through consultation both with users and also work with key global packaging organizations. Next slide. And just a quick list here. This shows the complete list of PK's LCA environmental indicators, and just to let you know exactly what the tool delivers. Next slide. Now, in terms of outputs, this gives a nice summary of one of the key deliverables from PK, which is a spider chart that can map up to 8 LCA environmental indicators in formats that show as a smaller polygon, indicate those formats that have the least environmental impact. Next slide. Now, PK also delivers comparison bars. What you can show here is the performance of each packaging option as they relate to a given LCA indicator. And more specifically, you get some detail around how each of the packaging systems levels contribute to overall performance. Now, taking it a bit further as far as analytical depth, you can also look at how each life cycle stage, be it, for example, material manufacture or transportation, etc., contributes to performance within each discrete packaging level. And this type of insight is really crucial for accurate decision making in the pursuit of sincere environmental improvement. So I'll finish the overview of PK's outputs with this list of packaging specific metrics. And as with the LCA environmental indicators that I mentioned earlier, the user can select or deselect each of these metrics based on the needs for a given analysis. Now, switching over to inputs, the required data for PK is information that's typically or commonly known to a packaging engineer on a given project and can be summarized in this data collection template. This template provides some nice flexibility, especially if the resource who's been tapped to do the LCA work is either outside of packaging or not very close to the project. And the PK architecture also allows for pretty powerful team management functionality. And this feature can be pretty helpful when the tool is used by different organizations under the umbrella of a shared license. So since its launch in 2006, PK has been a tool that has grown and improved regularly. Feedback from licensees, updated LCI data, and emerging industry trends all kind of come together to drive these improvements. And the tool is updated and changes are published about twice a year. And lastly, I show here PK standard pricing, although it's important to note that for industry organizations, there is a great deal of flexibility when it comes to pricing to get the right fit for the organization. So this overview was essentially a very quick synopsis of how PK works, but there are full demo sessions available as well for more information, and that's why that's been listed as a potential next step. And with that, I thank you for your time, and thank you once again for the opportunity to speak.
All right, thanks, Jay, for giving us an overview of that tool. Again, PK is one of several different tools that are out on the market, including Compass, which Ann Badar from Green Blue presented earlier. And as a coalition who represents lots of members, we will hopefully in 2014 be able to determine, hey, what are these tools that our members want and how can we negotiate group pricing to make sure that you can help or we can help you assess your packaging. So our final presenter is Nestle Purina. Larry Boehner is a senior packaging research scientist with Nestle Purina. And as a subject matter expert in packaging sustainability, Larry is a core team member of Nestle's Corporate Packaging Environmental Sustainability Network. Within the network, he leads the end-of-life working group for the network, which is responsible for establishing and sharing best practices for packaging, design for recovery guidelines. Larry has been with Nestle for over 18 years, 15 of them being in pet food. Based out of St. Louis, he lives with a golden retriever, a domestic short-hair cat, and a tabby. So, Larry, I will turn this over to you and let me know when you want me to advance slides.
All right, thanks a lot. We're really pleased to have this opportunity to talk to everybody today and share with you a little bit about packaging sustainability at Nestle Purina. Next slide, please. So, I mean, sustainability is increasingly important to companies large and small because it really positions us well for the future and allows us to be more cost efficient and helps us connect with our consumers. Next slide. I wait for the slides to catch up in my end here. Anyway, so at Nestle, we have a thing we called our shared value platform. And creating shared value is a way we work that adds value to our shareholders, our employees, communities, and society. So And here, sustainable packaging is an important part of our sustainability commitment and is increasingly important to our consumers. Next slide. So, I mean, this is essentially what we just said, you know. So we have Nestle and then we have Nestle Purina. We're also putting these values in place. Next slide. This next slide is actually pretty interesting because this is really, this is what our consumers want. I think other people have mentioned it on the call today, but 58% of pet owners, or 78% really want to know, what can we do with our packaging? Can it be recycled? So that's really what's driving a lot of our, or driving some of our work in packaging design. Next slide, please. So relevant to what Jay was just talking about, what we have is, I should step back. The number one purpose of our packaging is protect the product. So essentially, damage reduction is really a major sustainability win. When we spoil the food or the packaging is damaged or unsaleable, then all the embedded energy, water, and raw material is lost. So, you know, sometimes we have to do things that we'd rather not, but the first priority is always protect the product. Next slide. So our, like Jay mentioned, we use life cycle assessment tools in our packaging development. We call these eco-design tools. What we do is in our packaging development phase, we'll use these life cycle assessment to see what the impact of different packaging options will be on the environment. It's part of our overall decision-making process in going to market with new packaging. Next slide, please. So, so these are some of the main opportunity areas for packaging sustainability, and you know, we'll talk about a couple of them here today. Next slide, please. So, I mean, this is reduction of packaging is kind of a no-brainer from a sustainability point. Anytime you reduce the mass of your material that's being used, it's automatically more sustainable. But I think more to the point is looking through the lens of sustainability, and we can, it leads us to new technologies that also helps us reduce, for example, our carbon footprint of our packaging, and by going to our vendors and asking them to work with us to implement these new technologies, I think we can come up with some new ways to reduce our packaging. Next slide, please. You always want to start with reduction. Now, one of the areas I think that's really going to be taking increasing importance is the design for recovery. And here in the U.S., that's pretty much where we are right now. We have single-stream recycling systems. So what we want to do is we want to design our packaging so that it can be sorted and it can be recycled. And if it can't be recycled, then we'll have to the least desirable outcome would be actually to do energy recovery on it. Next slide, please. So what you have to understand, though, is in order to design the packaging, you have to understand how do the material recovery systems work in the MRFs. And so, you know, you've got things like air float separation for paper and films, magnetic separation for steel, eddy currents for aluminum separation, and near infrared, followed by float density separation. So when you design your packaging, you need to think about, you know, what's going to allow effective sorting of this material. For example, an all-black packaging can't be detected by near infrared, so therefore it ends up going into the rest waste segment of the material recovery facility. You know, if you're going to have a polyester bottle, you want to make sure that you have a label that is a polyester label, not a PE label. So another area here is also, you know, if you're going to recover the materials, well, how about using recycled materials in your products? Now, for food, in the pet food industry, we need to use food-grade recycled plastic materials. So these are just some examples. The polyethylenes are just coming online. There's a few sources that we can use. Recycled PET, that's pretty widely available and certainly could be used for pet food. Recycled polypropylene is still under development. Next slide. So, you know, we're doing a lot in-house to investigate different polymers for recyclability as well as product protection, doing lightweighting and that type of thing, but we're also finding ways to partner with consumers to help them recycle or dispose of the packaging properly. So here we've created a packaging recycling tool on our website for consumers to know what their package is made of and how and where to recycle it. And then next slide. We had some promotions earlier this year with Recycle Bank to raise awareness about recyclability of pet food cans. We sell several billion of these aluminum cans. They can easily be recycled with aluminum packaging. We've also got reminders on YouTube and Facebook pages, as well as stories on our website about how our consumers can participate in recovering and recycling packaging. So finally, one of the more challenging issues that we have here is how to get packaging material that can be technically recycled from the consumer to recycled resin users, since community recycling capabilities vary widely. So for example, our woven polypropylene bags are a good example of that. The polypropylene offers the most protection for the least amount of material. It is very recyclable, and there's a ready recycled resin market, but most material recovery facilities aren't able to sort these bags. So there needs to be a collaborative infrastructure development to address this problem, and we've retained a recycled packaging consultant to help us map out a tough bag collection pilot that will involve many partners. Maybe some of you on this call will participate to help us figure out a way to collect these woven polypropylene bags from consumers and keep the material in the value chain. So you'll probably be hearing a little bit more about this in coming months, and that's just about it for what we have to say today.
All right, thanks, Larry. It was good to get a sense from another pet company on what you're doing internally to try to innovate beyond some of the issues that we're having. And thank you for pointing out that many of the issues we face are systematic issues that will require collaborative work because that's too much for one company to do on their own. So with that, I will take one pause moment and check our questions line. If you have any questions for our presenters today or from me for PISC, please enter them in the question section and we will be right back. All right, I will go ahead and just field one question. This question is for you, Anne, and maybe you, Larry. If you can talk a little bit about what you think the role of retailers is on the kind of collection side of the sustainability issue with packaging.
Sure, this is Anne. I think so the store drop-off label for plastic films, I think, is a great example of where retailers have stepped up to collect that material. But really, they've done that because of, I think, some of the issues around plastic bags, but also what we've learned in working with particularly grocery retailers is that collecting that film that's clean, which you don't get from curbside collection, is actually a revenue generator. It can be baled with polyethylene shrink wrap from pallets back of house, and it's a really great customer service type of thing. I think, however, going beyond something like that to greater collection, I think creates a lot of challenges. We've gotten pushback from some retailers that just say, you know, we don't have the space, we're not recyclers, we worry about contamination. And so to expand the infrastructure, I think is going to be challenging. But I think it could be done, and I think that could be one option for the polypropylene woven bags. And I know the flexible film recycling group at ACC that we work with is, you know, aware of the challenge.
Yeah, we've looked at this a couple of years now and have not been able to figure out what is the best way to do it. I mean, we can't guarantee that our product isn't still in the bag when consumers bring it back to stores, and you know there's infestation issues going on. It's you know, these are things we still need to work out, and even from the recyclers themselves, they you know they've also the resin recycling companies, you know, they themselves are a little bit leery about even handling pet food bags where you still have some residual fat and crumbs and things like that in it. But these are all technical issues, I think.
Thanks for addressing that question. And I think maybe one other component that might need to be addressed is looking at that need for collaboration to actually work with innovation. So maybe there aren't particularly great options on the market right now. And I know that I've heard from a lot of our members an expression of frustration that they would really love to use a more sustainable bag that was both designed with better resins or more sustainable resins and was more accepted by recycling facilities. So do you guys have any ideas on kind of that need to collaborate and innovate new ideas to make more options available on the market?
Well, that's what we hope to do with this woven polypropylene pilot. I mean, we've got to essentially prime the pump, you know, and the only way we're going to do it is have a industry-wide collaboration to do it. I mean, we may be the biggest, but we can't do it without the rest of the industry working together. And I think packaging is a great opportunity area actually for a collaboration. It's all pretty competitive, and I think it's just the right thing to do.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, that pre-competitive collaboration is what has really driven the SPC over our 10 years, and you know really resulted in things like the How to Recycle label. I think it's also still important for, and this has become really a secondary benefit of a company going through the How to Recycle label process, is understanding recyclability, since there is a lot of greenwashing, and you know there's difference between access and rates, and it's actually kind of confusing out there as to, you know, what is really recyclable. So I think um, a company should really do a lot of due diligence when considering packaging options to understand what's out there, and then if introducing a new package or product, do some work with the recycling community in particular to see what the options are. It's a little bit of a chicken or the egg, but I think some more upfront work from the design community is important, which is why we have developed design guides to help that process.
Yeah, finally, I mean, it comes back to our consumers. We hear from our consumers again and again that they want to recycle our packaging, and that's really our job as an industry, is to you know, meet the needs of our consumers and their wants.
All right. Well, I think that is a great way to end our webinar today. I realize that we started late, and so we're getting a little bit of a late end, and some people may have some other things that they need to get to. So thank you very much to all of our presenters today and all of the attendees, and we hope to see you at our next webinar on February 13th. Signing off.